Good morning. Today I'm going to speak to you about collaging. So as you can see, collaging in many different layers of different papers. I thought I'd come on and speak to you about collaging because a lot of people are kind of a little bit scared to try it, but once you try it, you get really hooked and you start to create some really lovely ideas and paintings. I'm just going to show you. This is a little bit of collaging with working with glue and marble and then doing some rubbings onto some ink. So all it is basically putting it on. Now this paper here is very flimsy, and the reason it's flimsy is because it's much easier to take a rubbing with oil pastels and then flood ink onto it, and then if you've got separate pieces of paper to do different things. Doesn't have to be paper though. As I mentioned before, this is fabric, and all I've done is I've used shaving foam to put the fabric onto, and then literally dropped inks in before and then waited for it to dry. But I also did some glue onto it, so it's got a little bit more intensity with having folds put in it. That was one I've done. There's also, this is another one, and as you can see I've got quite a hard ridge there, so I've started putting in some other different decorative pieces. Now on the edge here I've got marbled glue, and again it's worked in the same process as doing shaving foams, but instead of using shaving foam, you're doing glue. Put glue down onto a plastic surface and then do some marbling. A lot of my techniques I will show in my videos as we go along. So I tend to do a lot of decorative papers, and this is all parts of just adding, and I like to keep colours very, very similar to what I'm working in. So my big love is blues and greens, but every now and again I will work in pinks, oranges and reds and have yellows coming in. With this piece here, I am planning to actually stitch into it to add, so getting rid of hard lines and doing some stitch marks into it as well. And then you're just basically putting it all together. I have got a mound of different things, and as we go along I will show you. But what you are going to need is, make sure you either have plastic or something. I've got like a cutting mat down first, and then I've got some paper over the top. You're quite welcome to use plastic, heavy layered plastic, as you would do for heavy duty decorating, and then you are basically nearly ready to go. I do have a little spatula, a tiny little spatula, but most of that, unless I'm applying the backs of things, I will probably not be using today. What I also have is watered down PVA glue. What you want to do is sort of 3/4 PVA glue into a tub, and then also about 1/4 water. And then you just make sure you've got a brush, like a hard bristle brush that you can actually mix with. Make sure you all mix that up as well. I mixed that before I started, but I also tend not to have the brush left in the glue, and so I've got a little bit of tissue at the side, just some paper towels at the side to rest it on. So I'm going to put that over there. Now you can have scissors. Make sure you've got some nice sharp scissors. You can be small ones or whatever you feel comfortable in your hands. I do have a pencil, but I'm probably not going to need a pencil. But I also do have things like lollipop sticks that I can paint. So I've got paints at the side and ready to go. I also have, if I'm going to work with reds and yellows, some dried orange peel, because this is actually quite nice to collage, and then you can sew into it as well. So just a few things. I've got lots of layered of printing. So this is kind of I would do more green. This is basically, it was always told to me it was tantric printing, but I don't think it probably is. But that's another technique I will show as we go along. And what you are doing is basically creating a print from two actual boards, and it gives quite a nice idea of this is very natural form, like a cabbage leaf almost, and then you're kind of peeling it off and then you're printing either on paper or fabric. Make sure that you have, I've got some paper that is wasted paper and some clean paper to start my collage. So I'm just going to move that out the way, and then I'm going to put down a bit of clean paper. As well as that, when you start to collage, have things like old envelopes. The inside of the old envelope is usually got a print on it. It's usually either pale grey or pale blue. Any papers that you do not use, I've got obviously cuttings out here. And I've got quite a lot of marbling with inks here, and I can use that when I come to do my green side, which is kind of thinking about basically when you start to tear and putting that together. You can also have various other things. You can have painted things as well that allow you to create the collage. So you can certainly use collage when you are just kind of messing around, which is what I'm going to do today with you. I'm just going to mess around and start to grow a collage as we go along. Now, what I have done is I've printed before, and this is a technique that I will probably do at some point in one of my videos, that is sort of deli printing. And it's quite fine line printing. If you don't have a printing press, this is actually quite a fun way to get some really fun prints of nature. So anything that is a leaf, or it's a feather, or it's twigs, you can do it in this manner. And I'm going to probably start with, and I believe in putting on lots of different sort of layers. So that also is a feather, but it's been taken from reverse print, and it's something I will show on a later video. Again, working on just brown paper, working on newsprint. So I've got a thing about feathers at the moment, very much into sort of the native Indian side of things. So as we start, and I've even got some on fabric, but although it's kind of ghosting, and that's something I will look into when we start. So I'm just going to get the leaves, because I believe the leaves, and you want to have a variety of things at your forefront to start to print. Now I have also got some printing. So we've got some printing of leaves that was done with this deli printing method, which I'm going to start. And we've also got it on tissue paper, and we've got it on darker paper. In fact, I might use that paper and start building up the layers as we go along, rather than using that clean one. So I've already got something to start from when we start to do. Now I tend to have a lot of different decorative papers that I can use as well. And also there's some stencil printing. Okay, so you just want to have lots of different things around you when you've got when you start sort of doing collaging. And it may be a case of this is some printing from lino, and just sort of looking at that, and you can always have some sort of background and you're using that to start. So what I am going to do is we're going to start with, and I've got some old printed onto wallpaper as well. So all I'm going to do is, now some things, if I started to tear this newsprint, well actually newsprint, it's tissue paper, it would start to break up. But things like on something like this, on basically cartridge paper. So I tend to tear, and the reason I tend to tear is because it's nice not to have a hard edge. So you're getting as close to your area. Now, if you're worried about, you just got to make sure your fingers are close by so you're not basically tearing away any of the design. Okay, so I'm going to start with this, and I'm just going to kind of, and I always try to do things at an angle, and you'll see as we go along. Okay, so just doing this. This video will probably be a little bit longer than my usual ones of 10 minutes, because I know I've definitely gone over that factor. So basically, I quite like the fact that that's ghosting, but we've also got, and you're kind of fitting things in as you go along. You just kind of look at the line of how things are fitting, and you're starting to go. So with this one, I am going to cut the paper out, and I'm going to start to cut the actual image out, because if I started tearing, and although it'd be really nice, it would probably end up ripping through because of the grain of the tissue paper. So it's interesting when you start to do all these lovely ideas that you know which way your grains of paper are running. And you know something, it doesn't have to be perfect, okay? You're trying things out for the first time, or maybe second time, and you're just having a go at doing different things. So as I'm cutting that all out, so as we start to do, now I've been doing collage quite a bit. It's a really nice way to get a good body of work and also development work in, especially if you're doing A-levels. I work with a lot of A-level students, and it's a good way to get development and ideas going. Okay, so as much as I don't like hard edges, I am going to put these in, and it's finding where I put that in. So I probably am going to put it in something like that. So it's going to be, so my first lot of glue, I'm going to stick that down. Okay, now as you see, I'm not putting anything down yet on the background, but I am going to start with some glue. And this is where it pays to bring the glue pot a little bit closer. Okay, so you're not reaching over so much, but you are just going to glue it up. And as soon as I put this down, especially with tissue paper, it's going to be adhering to the paper. So I'm just going to put that along there, and we're going to put that down. And one thing with tissue paper, sometimes it's forgiving, sometimes it's not. So I've already got a crease in there. Okay, so just putting that down. So and then you're just going to, with the collaging, you're just going to go over the top, and you're making sure that it's going to basically stick. Okay, so you don't have to do loads. Just make sure it's watered down. It is watered down. I could probably put in a little bit more. I topped this up before. So my next bit is this one here, because I think that probably works because there's a curve. So you're just kind of piecing things in as you go along. Don't worry if things come out over the edge. That's what makes it all interesting. Okay, so just allow for that to go down. And again, every time you put a piece down, make sure you go over it. One, it's adding a gloss, and as you can see, I've got some painted, some print that's already down, but it's giving a slight pink to the actual picture because it's actually water soluble. So I don't want too much of that, but it has started to go pink. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm now going to take a little bit of, I've got a little printed oil sort of marbling going here, and I'm just going to again tear that because it's a much nicer line, and I'm going to lose. It would be okay if I put it down here as hard edge on the corner, that's fine, But when you've got it inside something, you can actually, and then I'm going to lose that hard edge at some point. Okay, so I'm just going to put that print. I could have torn it off, but actually as I'm going to probably overlap anyway, you probably won't see those torn edges, but okay, straight edges rather. And again, I'm going over the top. Okay, and we're going to build it up and build it up and build it up on sort of techniques like this, and just bringing this through again. So I'm going to put that probably a little bit there. So I don't know if you know the Fibonacci method. It's the rule of kind of either 1, 3, 5. So it's the odd numbers that make something look a little bit better. I'm not worrying about if it's coming over the edge. But what I am going to do now with this one, I'm going to put that right up into the corner there. So the rule of 3 is coming in here. Okay, and I'm just going to put that in and then over the top. Okay, so, and I find with collaging, it starts to kind of take on its own sort of way. Now I am going to put in some more leaves, and again I'm tearing bits, okay, and you can start to, because what you will do is some will be collaged right over the top and some will be basically as you go along, and I'm going to bring out the edges and everything with it. So it's just a point of fitting things in at this moment in time. And the reason I'm kind of putting that down, I quite like the blue and I like the printed matter that was on top. And again, it's got colour coming through because of whatever I've printed beforehand. So I'm going to do another one. And we're just going to kind of fit it into that area there. Okay. So I'm going to take away a little bit of that there and start putting that in there. So again, my straight edge is with my straight edge on the side, and it's just a point of getting used to collaging. So this is simply, you can get some beautiful, you could do a drawing and then you could do a collage background. That's another way of making sure that you are using kind of all different things. So this is almost like a mixed media piece. I'm going to take a little bit of this printed matter here, which again is on, it's very fine tracing paper, almost like parchment paper really. I'm going to take a little bit of that. So don't be scared to try to actually have a go, just, you know, putting different things down. I am going to put in probably another 2 leaves somewhere along the way, and I'm going to bring it in. And you can also wait for it to dry and then bring in a some paint on top if you want to paint it as well. So there's so many different types of collaging to do, but as I'm at the moment kind of in the flow of doing, and I'm just going to put that back because I still like that line. Okay, that line of blue coming through, it starts to show that you're kind of building a picture, but this is a very simple way. So now I'm going to take that, you see, so I've lost actually that straight edge there, and we're just going to put some paint and glue down over the top. Glue it again, make sure it's glued underneath, and putting that down. So we're going to build this all up. Let me look for another leaf somewhere. I'm sure I've got more than 2, 3 leaves. I might put in a feather. So this is where I've decided I haven't printed enough leaves. We have got basically something like that, but I'm kind of saving that one for something else. And let's see if we've got any more. Aha, I've got a fabric one, which is lovely. So that oh, and this one. So things like this yes, I may stick these down, but actually I'm going to do something. Because they've printed out pretty well, I'm going to do something on fabric with those, and actually do a development pieces with those. So we'll leave those ones, but there's got to be a few others in terms of collaging. Okay, right, okay, maybe not. Maybe not. So I might just have to use this one, just like the thing where it's going over. Right, okay, so I'm going to turn now to some feathers, I think, because actually I've run out of what I initially wanted to do. So I'm going to take that feather there, and that feather can come in up the top because it's slightly doubled as I've been printing. So again, I'm going to take this, I'm going to tear it. So you're kind of tearing about maybe 2 or 3 millimeters from the edge. So you're holding your fingers to the point where it doesn't tear into it. You're kind of controlling it in a sense, and you're allowing for it to kind of coming around. So yeah. And if you end up taking some of the design as you go along, okay, that is okay. You know, you can't be perfect, and you know, things go along. Now I could have quite easily cut this, but I chose not to. And I'm going to do a slightly pointed edge on the bottom. So again, you've got this, and as you start to build up, which is the other one, the first collage you saw had a lot of different layers of painting and just literally playing with colour on top. So just wanted to kind of come on today and just make sure that you just get a little bit and get your collaging, because a lot of people say to me, oh, we have so much paper left over from all the things I do, what should I do with them? So now it's just a point of putting them down. So I'm going to probably place that one up there, and then I'll probably place another one somewhere else because of the law of Fibonacci. Okay, so we're just again going to paint that, well, glue it with the brush, and you want to make sure your brush is not getting loads and loads of ink up the spine of it. So we're going to put that probably about there. Okay, right, just about there, and then I'm going back over the top. Okay. Now, if you do want to add colour to it, tissue paper, so all the tissue paper that we got rid of initially, is then you can use that to soften the edges, okay? And I thought I had a lot to start with when I did, but actually I'm beginning to wonder if I have got a lot. I have definitely got a lot of papers, but I haven't got them right in front of the camera at this moment in time. So when we come to doing, let's have a look at another feather. Oh, you see, there's my leaves. There's my leaves. Okay, we'll go with one feather, and then I'm going to take this leaf here, and actually I'm going to go for a hard line on this one. There we go. What's nice about these, I might do my own one with just those 3 on there and working with just having newspaper at the back or something. So again, I'm going to cut around this one, and I'm choosing to cut rather than to tear. There's no right or wrong way of doing this. You know something, at the end of the day, if you want a bit of creativity, just have a bit of fun and start collaging. Okay. So, there we go. Obviously that's going to give me a blue tint somewhere. So we're probably going to stick that somewhere down here. Okay. So it's either on the edge. I'm just seeing where it's going to fit into at this moment in time. So I could put it there, but to me it looks a bit strange. Or I could put it there. Or I could put it there. But I think actually here is going to work. Okay, and layout, I will be bringing out another video on layout, how to lay out things, but more to do with painting really. But it's all about just building up your knowledge on where to place things. And it's the same when you do a composition, when you're doing a drawing composition, as it is when you are doing one of these. So I'm going to probably stop there, and then I will come back on and show it again, but I will start to build up the layers, and just with tissue paper. So I'm just going to show you with making something look quite soft. So if I look at sort of this area here, okay, if I start to just put a layer of over the top, it starts to make things quite soft, and then this will help if you wanted to paint on top. Now I have got a hard line there, but you're not going to see that hard line, okay, and you can just put like different things. I'm probably going to fill in with a little bit more of this because I like this pattern, but I'm going to tear small strips and start to layer the image. Okay, so start to layer that image, just again over the top. Easier, not hard at all, and it's a really nice way to get some very simple images that don't take a lot of time, but you're kind of just playing with putting things down and pacing yourself and what you can do. And you start just filling in, the areas, and then I may end up doing some gold printing on top with the stencil. It all depends what I'm feeling. So I do feel that art sometimes just releases kind of those wonderful creative vibes that you have, that you just need to sit down and not do anything. And I have to say, I've taken kind of 3 days off this weekend, Saturday, Sunday and Monday, and was just literally chilling. But I wasn't doing a lot of artwork, but I started doing artwork around about 10 o'clock on the Friday evening to about 2 o'clock in the morning, because I just got carried away with doing sort of some basically collaging. Anyway, so I'm going to stop it there, and then I will come back on, show you kind of the final results. But don't be scared. Don't be scared to try a bit of collaging. Just have your watered down PVA glue, okay, your paintbrush, and just have lots of different things at the side of you that you can start to try, and it just ripping. And you could just rip straight, and almost like creating bark and a tree. I've definitely got an idea for this one as I go on, but it's going to take a little bit longer than me doing a 15-minute video. Anyway, that's the start. If you're interested, this is Confidence to Collage. I'm Laura Rothenberg. If you're interested, subscribe and keep in touch with me. Bye for now.